It begins in silence. A cold dawn settles over the mountains of Epirus, where mist clings to the roofs of stone cottages and the church bells echo faintly through the valley. In that gray hour between night and morning, the villagers hear the sound of horses, dozens of them, their hooves thudding on the frozen ground. Then comes the knock, heavy, methodical, final. Inside a small house, a mother clasps her son's shoulders. He is 10 years old, barefoot, still smelling of hay and sleep. His name is Nikola. He has never left the village, never seen a city, never spoken a word of Turkish. But this morning, the empire has come for him. The soldiers wear crimson sashes and carry scrolls, sealed with the Sultan's mark. They do not shout or strike. They simply read out the order, calm, rehearsed, inevitable. The mother screams. The father begs. The officer points to a name on the list and gestures. The boy must go. It is times Devshirme *, the gathering. To refuse is to invite death. Nikola's small hand disappears into the grip of the soldier. Behind him, his mother collapses to her knees, her cry swallowed by the sound of departing horses. By nightfall, dozens of boys from the nearby villages are bound for the Ottoman capital. Their futures erased, their names soon to vanish under new ones. Centuries later, historians would call it an efficient system of recruitment. But for those who lived it, it was the sound of doors breaking, of prayers unanswered, of a childhood stolen in the name of faith and empire. What kind of civilization builds its strength on the abduction of its own subjects' sons? And what kind of order can emerge from a machine that feeds on innocence? The truth behind the Janissary system, the empire's proudest creation, is darker than any tale of conquest. Beneath the marble of Istanbul's palaces lies a foundation built from silence, obedience, and forgotten names. This is the story of the children taken for the Sultan and how an empire turned them into its most loyal executioners. To understand the tragedy, we must first understand the brilliance that concealed it. By the middle of the 15th century, the Ottoman Empire stood as the beating heart of the known world. Its banners stretched from the Persian mountains to the gates of Vienna, from the deserts of Arabia to the shores of the Adriatic. Constantinople had fallen in 1453, reborn as times Istanbul *, the city of the world's desire. The empire's rulers, the times, sultans' times, were not mere kings. They were shadows of God on earth. Their court glowed with the light of ambition. Mosaics of gold, domes that caught the morning sun, fountains whispering the poetry of power. They had built what many called the time's perfect order, *, a realm of divine justice, prosperity, and military genius. At the center of this machine stood the time's Janissaries, times the Sultan's personal army. To the outside world, they were heroes of Islam, the disciplined corps that crushed crusaders and subdued rebellious princes. To foreign envoys like the Habsburg ambassador Ogier de Busbecq, they appeared almost superhuman soldiers who fought without fear, obeyed without question, and lived without greed. No man among them, Busbecq wrote, knows wealth, wife, or child, only the will of their master. The Times Devshirme times system was celebrated as the empire's secret of stability. Through it, the Sultan could recruit boys untouched by the corruption of noble birth or family ties. They were trained, educated, and elevated solely by merit, a dream of efficiency centuries ahead of its time. Historians of the court described it as times justice in action *, the poor Christian peasant whose son might rise to become times Grand Vizier *, the second most powerful man in the empire. And indeed, many did. Some of the greatest Ottoman statesmen, Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, for instance, began as Devshirme boys, torn from the Balkans and remade into legends. In official chronicles, their ascent proved the empire's fairness, its divine mission to transform suffering into greatness. But that was only one side of the mirror. Behind the polished marble of the Topkapi Palace lay corridors where boys cried in languages no one answered. Behind the praise of meritocracy was a silence enforced by fear, for these children were not chosen. They were taken. Their parents did not offer them to the empire. They were forced to surrender them. The chronicles of triumph never mentioned the burnt villages, the vanished baptismal records, or the mothers who followed the convoys for miles before collapsing by the roadside. These stories were erased from official memory, sealed away beneath layers of imperial pride. The glory of the empire was built on an equation that history rarely admits. For every vizier who rose to greatness, thousands of nameless boys disappeared forever. Behind the gleaming discipline of the Janissaries, a question still trembles. At what point does the pursuit of order become indistinguishable from cruelty? But behind the polished image of imperial discipline, a darker mechanism turned precise, methodical, merciless. The Devshirme Times, was not a passing cruelty or the whim of a sultan. It was a machine of statecraft, engineered to secure obedience and to drain resistance from conquered lands. It began with paperwork. Ottoman scribes carried Time's Tahrir Defterleri, Time's vast census books written in ink and fear. Every household was recorded, every name marked by faith and age. When the order came from the palace, a network of provincial governors and Times Codice Times spread across the Balkans with chilling efficiency. Messengers arrived in Christian villages carrying the Times Kanunname asterisk, the law that legitimized the taking. The rules were explicit. No orphans, no only sons, no boys under 8 or over 18. But in practice, age was a number written by trembling hands. The collectors would line the boys in the village square. Their bodies were examined like livestock, teeth, height, shoulders, even the steadiness of their eyes. The best were taken first. The rest were left behind to live in silence and shame. Once chosen, the children were marched away, their names erased and replaced by Turkish ones before they reached the next town. Their old faith was washed off with ritual baths. Their memories were rewritten by rote prayers and hours of bowing toward Mecca. This was not chaos, it was order. Every stage of the Devshirme was documented, inspected, and rewarded. Governors received promotions for the number of boys gathered. Clerks were praised for the accuracy of their lists. To the empire, this was a harvest, the most valuable crop of all: human loyalty. Inside the Times, Enderun Times School in Istanbul, discipline replaced identity. The boys were taught Turkish, Arabic, Persian, calligraphy, swordsmanship, archery, and silence. They learned to read the Quran by day and march in step by night. To speak their mother tongue was forbidden. To recall their parents was blasphemy. They became Times Kul asterisk, slaves of the Sultan but not in chains. Their bondage was spiritual, perfected through gratitude. Foreign observers admired what they saw. Busbek marveled at how the Janissaries obeyed orders as if they shared one soul. He did not see the cost, the quiet madness of those who forgot the sound of their own names. The empire called it Times Justice asterisk. The people called it Times the Gathering of Tears asterisk. In the Albanian mountains, mothers would hide their sons in wine barrels or carve crosses into their foreheads, hoping to mark them as sacred. None of it mattered. The bureaucracy was relentless. Even the church could not protect them. In many monasteries, baptismal registries simply stopped for certain years: 1,459, 1,473, 1,495 blank pages marking the seasons when the collectors came. And when the boys were gone, their villages fell silent. Crops withered for lack of hands. Families aged without heirs. The countryside emptied of laughter, filled instead with a strange kind of mourning that lasted generations. It was all part of the plan. An empire that could erase identity could command loyalty. A ruler who raised his army from the children of the conquered could ensure their parents never rose against him. Thus, the machine turned polished by faith, fueled by fear, sanctified by law. And within its wheels, childhood itself became a weapon forged for the Sultan. By the 16th century, the machine had reached perfection. The Devshirme no longer needed fear to function, it ran on habit, on the slow erosion of resistance. The empire's reach now stretched across half of Europe, and the gathering of boys became as routine as the collection of taxes. Every 4 to 7 years, detachments of Ottoman officials rode through the valleys of Bosnia, Macedonia, Albania, and Greece with lists, seals, and quotas. To them, it was logistics. To the villages, it was mourning reborn. Contemporary accounts estimate that each levy took between *** 3,000 and 10,000 boys ***. The state called them tributes in blood. Over the course of 2 centuries, tens of thousands were taken, perhaps ** 200,000 inches, total ***, though no record admits the true number. By the reign of ** Suleiman, the magnificent ***, the Janissary Corps has swelled to ** over 40,000 men, ***, the most disciplined and feared military force of its age. They formed the spear point of Ottoman conquest. They stormed Belgrade, crushed the Hungarians at Mohacs, and guarded the palace gates in Istanbul. Their loyalty was absolute because they belonged nowhere else. They had no families, no heirs, no homes to return to, only the empire, which had devoured their past and replaced it with purpose. But the scale of the system was not measured only in numbers, it was measured in silences. Across the Balkans, entire generations vanished from church registries. In village cemeteries, gravestones bore gaps of decades, where no young men were buried, only the elderly and the very young. Scholars studying the times, Tahrir Defterleri times, note strange patterns. Regions with abundant children in one census show almost none in the next. The empire's bureaucracy recorded every field and goat, but not the boys who had been taken from them. The physical traces of the system remain scattered like scars. At Topkapi Sarayu, the former palace of the sultans, archaeologists have found training courtyards, barracks, and inscriptions marking the hierarchies of the Janissary order, the Times Order *, the companies into which the boys were divided like pieces on a chessboard. In remote monasteries of Macedonia and Kosovo, parchment fragments reveal desperate prayers scribbled by priests. May God return the sons of this village. He never did. One inscription discovered in Bosnia reads simply, we remember those who left and did not return. Beneath it lie shallow graves carbon dated to the mid-15th century. Inside them, researchers found the skeletons of young males aged 10 to 16, too many for any ordinary plague, too few for a battle. Even centuries later, the demographic shadow is visible. Modern population studies show how certain Balkan regions never fully recovered. The absence of male descendants broke family lines. Cultural memory frayed where surnames disappeared. Devshirme did not just change lives, it redrew the genetic and spiritual map of Southeast Europe. And still, within the empire, the machine was celebrated. Court poets praised the Sultan's army as sons of destiny. Bureaucrats called the levies a blessing to the realm. The empire had perfected the art of erasing pain by ritualizing it. What had once been horror was now ceremony. Boys kneeling in rows, their heads shaved, their new names whispered in unison. It was civilization disguising captivity empire as the art of forgetting. Each child taken strengthened the Sultan's hand, but weakened the soul of a continent. For every fortress the Janissaries built, a village fell into ruin. And for every victory they won, a mother somewhere in the mountains lit a candle that would burn until her death for a son whose name she was forbidden to speak. Among the thousands of names swallowed by the Devshirme, one story survives not because history chose to remember it, but because a single act of cruelty left a trace too deep to erase. His name was once Nicola of Epirus the son of a shepherd. When he was taken, he was 10 years old. By the time he returned, he was not Nicola anymore. The empire had renamed him Ali Pasha el Epiri commander of the 64th Order of the Janissary Corps. He spoke no Greek, no Latin, no word of the lullabies his mother had once sung. His letters, written in Ottoman Turkish, speak with a strange precision the language of a man trained to obey before he could feel. In 1499, the Sultan ordered him to suppress a rebellion in Epirus, his birthplace. The records of the campaign are brief, administrative, stripped of emotion. The villages of the mountain defied tribute. The command was given. The fires were lit. But one surviving local chronicle, written by a monk hiding in a cave, tells a different version. It describes a commander whose voice trembled when he ordered his men to burn a village where he could still name every stone. That night, the flames of his own childhood rose before him. When the smoke cleared, he left the valley without a word. Years later, he died in Istanbul, buried with honors as a servant of the Sultan. His tombstone, discovered in 2009 at an abandoned Janissary cemetery, bears only his Ottoman name. The Christian one had vanished, like the smoke he once watched ascend from his village. Stories like his are not myths. They are being rewritten now through science. In recent decades, bioarchaeologists, have analyzed bones from Janissary burial sites using strontium isotope analysis. A method that traces where a person grew up through the minerals in their teeth. The results are hauntingly clear. Many of the men buried in Istanbul and Edirne had childhoods in the mountains of the Balkans. Their bodies carried the geography of two worlds, born Christian, buried Muslim, belonging to neither. Historians examining church baptismal records find abrupt breaks in family lines. Names vanish mid-century, replaced generations later by descendants who cannot trace their origin. The empire's efficiency in assimilation was total faith, language, blood, all reforged into loyalty. Modern genetic studies even reveal Balkan Y chromosome markers within old Turkish families, echoes of those children who once marched eastward and never returned. The Devshirme left no ruins of war, no craters or burned cities. Its destruction was quieter, the dismantling of identity at the level of the soul. And yet, within that silence, there were survivors of memory. Old women who kept a lock of hair hidden in icons. Priests who recorded secret crosses beneath their ledgers. Folk songs that whispered of the black riders who steal the dawn. Each scientific discovery today, every bone, every missing record, every mismatched surname is not just data. It is a confession carved in the archive of time. Proof that the empire's greatest invention was not its army, but its ability to make loss appear as order. Through Nicola's story and the science that followed, we can finally see what the chronicles refused to write, that the Janissary system was not a school of greatness, but a factory of obedience built on stolen children and broken prayers. And when archaeologists brush the dust from the gravestones, the question left behind is not who were they, but who did they once love before they were taught to forget. History records the fall of empires with dates and battles, but it rarely records the quieter, collapses the moments when power forgets what it means to be human. The times, Devshirme times, ended not with an edict of mercy, but with decay. By the 17th century, the Janissaries, who once represented purity of discipline, had grown corrupt, married, traded, and rebelled. The same machine that once transformed captives into soldiers now consumed itself from within. In 1826, Sultan Mahmud II finally dissolved the core in what became known as the auspicious incident, ordering cannons to fire upon their barracks. Thousands were killed, and the system that had ruled for 400 years vanished overnight. But its ghost remained in surnames that changed, in prayers that mixed languages, in the unspoken fear that history could take your children away again. The Ottoman chroniclers wrote of the Janissaries as martyrs of order. European historians later admired their discipline as a miracle of statecraft. Yet, the truth lies somewhere between admiration and horror. It was not a miracle, it was a trade. The empire bought loyalty with childhood. The echoes of this trade still murmur across the Balkans. In villages of Bosnia and Albania, elders tell stories of times the taking asterisk, as if it happened yesterday. Songs like asterisk, O Jachachi, Sanovi Moji, asterisk, O my boys, my sons, asterisk are sung in voices that tremble between prayer and lament. In Greece, Macedonia, and Serbia, folk legends still speak of the Sultan's harvest, when children vanish before dawn. The collective memory has outlived the empire that created it. Modern historians see the Devshirme as both a marvel of administration and a monument of cruelty proof that bureaucracy can become a weapon when divorced from empathy. Archaeologists at Topkapi Saraya say that if you stand in the palace courtyards at dawn, you can still hear the echo of marching feet. Each step, once proud, was the sound of obedience perfected through loss. What remains today is not judgment, but reflection. The Janissaries reshaped the Ottoman world and left behind both glory and grief. Their existence forces us to ask what kind of civilization we build when efficiency replaces compassion, when the desire for order outweighs the sanctity of a child's name. Empires rise by rewriting memory, but memory always finds a way to return. In the cracks of archives, in the DNA of descendants, in songs hummed by grandmothers who never learned the words, history whispers back the names it once tried to erase. Nicola, Marco, Stefan, Dmitri. Names that crossed mountains, changed tongues, and disappeared into marble courtyards, yet somehow still breathe in the stories of those who remember. The empire that called them its sons may be dust, but the truth endures. Power built on silence is never eternal. And the children taken for the Sultan still march, not in uniform, but in memory, a warning carved into the conscience of humanity that no glory is worth the theft of a soul.